Welcome to another episode of Witch Hat Chats. Come on in and sit for a spell. I am your amazing goddess host, Miss Nikki, and we are sponsored by Evermoving We Rise and Moonlight Potions and Charms. And around the corner here is our co-host, Saul Ravencraft. How you doing, Saul?
I am wonderful, Nikki. So nice to see you today. You were looking good.
Thank you. Being so merrily joyful and blessed.
Yes. So this is funny. This gets to intentions and where things don't necessarily mean what they think it means. I was finished with a Santa gig in Austin, and I had to go do something else. I was actually going to Arcanum's House of Curiosities, and it was a little warm, and I didn't really want to wear the Santa suit for another few hours. And I had forgotten to bring anything along, so I stopped at the Walmart and did some looking around to see if I could find some sort of seasonal t-shirt, and I'd wear the bottom half of the Santa costume with the t-shirt, and that would take care of my needs. And I saw this. Now, I think that the artist, the creator of this, intended it to be the sort of thing where you go, I am happy, I am joyful, I am blessed, right? La-di-da. But I thought about all of the different ways that people exchange greetings during this time of year. Merry Christmas, Blessed Yule, all of that kind of thing. And I'm very big on the idea that you let go of whatever the second word is, and you hang on to the first thing they're giving you, which is they're wishing you merriment, and they're wishing you joy and blessings and all of that kind of thing. And it doesn't matter how they're defining it. It's what you're taking from it. And so while I think that there are a lot of people that would look at this and go, oh yes, I'm happy, joyful, and blessed as well, that to me this is a reminder of that whole sentiment of just taking it, and they don't know the other words that I'm adding in here, that I see Yule and Christmas and several other things sort of blended in with these words. So it's kind of its own magic. I like it.
That's the reason why I just say happy holidays, because there's like 17 or more different holidays that are celebrated in December alone.
Sure. And I'll do that as well, but some people actively try to be offended if someone wishes them a Merry Christmas.
Right.
Don't you wish me a Merry Christmas? You don't know. It's like, what the hell? I mean, they just wished you merriment. Take the merriment. Take the cannoli. Right? Just when someone offers you joy, accept it.
All right, so what else are you going to be doing for us?
Well, trying to be joyful and merry and blessed while I am at Arcanum's House of Curiosities on every Thursday and Sunday that I can make it. Of course, we're running out of time for all of that. We're starting to get in a point where the holiday season's going to interfere, but I'll be there every day that I can there, and doing consultations, readings, just generally hanging out. So come on by. And of course, a reminder, if you are interested in connecting with me, and especially if you don't live in the area, I have a wonderful setup, the same setup I use to record Witch Hat Chats, where we can do virtual consultations and virtual readings. And for now, till the end of the year, they're only $20, and that's actually a good deal. Normally, that stuff runs $50, and I want everybody to have a chance to get themselves reset, to take advantage of this winter time to get yourself set up for the next turn of the wheel. So look forward. All you got to do is go to texasmojoman.com, hit that contact spot, and let me know that you want to connect, and we'll make the time. So that's pretty much everything going on. Of course, if somebody wants a Santa appearance, I'm happy to make that happen. Even if you want to do a virtual Santa appearance, we can do that the same way. But it all starts with you reaching out. Yes, I'm psychic, but no, I'm not going to bother you. You gotta reach out to me. That's the way it works. So what's up with you and all of yours, Nikki?
Well, Evermoving We Rise, we are going to be taking a break. We wish everybody happy holidays and hope that you have a very good one. We're going to come back for In Bulk, where we're going to celebrate the 3 phases of Bridget. So we'll be coming back then. For Moonlight Potions and Charms, we're still open, and we're still celebrating all of our 5 stars. And we have our new, not only do we have our new products, but we still have our oracle card readings. 1 oracle card reading for $10, and you can get a lot out of 1 oracle card reading. So make sure that you sign up for those. Find out what's going to happen for the upcoming year, or what you have to kind of get closed before the upcoming year. It's really, really fascinating what you can find out in 1 oracle card. Trust me, it's a lot. And we also have, like I said, our new items that we've got coming out, plus our old items that we still have around, like our candles. We have, our Papa Legbuck candles that we have, wonderful smelling candles, absolutely great. That's one of our actual favorite candles that we have. We also have our Mama Bridget candles, along with our Bridget candles as well. And don't forget about our altars, our traveling altars, for those that travel, and also for those that have small, limited spaces as well. Great for them. It's also very good for, we also have our spell kits and so much more. So make sure you come and find us at Moonlight Potions and Charms. That's www.moonlightpotionscharms.com, and see what other goodies that we may have. And you can find Witch Hat Chats, because we are everywhere. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. So subscribe, follow us, like our pages, download our episodes, and take us with you on the go. Go to our link tree to find out where we are. And the most exciting thing that's happened is Manifestasia. It's on January 21st and 22nd, and our tickets are on sale now.
Yes, they are.
Yes, we have these amazing, amazing presenters that's going to do our witch shops, because this year you're actually going to be doing something as well as being able to listen to these wonderful presenters. We got Opal Luna, we got Starcastus, we got Sin Elise, as well as Star Ravenhawk, Byron Ballard, and Emma Catherine. So we have all of those. And tell us, Saul, who are our amazing sponsors?
So first, I want to say how you become a sponsor and how you buy a ticket. It's really easy. The all-access weekend pass is only $64. You find that at witchhatchats.com. Up in the top, you'll see Manifestasia 2023. It takes you to a page where you can buy a ticket, but also you can become a sponsor of Manifestasia 2023. There's another little button to go to that page. Sponsorship is only $100. It includes your full access pass for the weekend. So it's actually a hell of a deal. And for that, one, you show extra support for our event. You get a shout out here. You get your commercial included in our episodes, which are going to be viewed in the future as well. So months down the road after Manifestasia, someone may come back, catch one of these older episodes, and still see you there. So I do encourage you go and check it out. Here are those that have. Of course, we have Evermoving We Rise, Moonlight Potions and Charms, Saul Ravencraft, Executive Occultist. Those are all sponsors. In addition, we have Douglas Floyd, Victoria Monday, and Kitchen Witch Gourmet, and I want to add your name to that list. So reach out for that, and let's spend more time talking about more sponsors on our next episode. How does that sound to you, Nikki?
It sounds wonderful to me. All right. So, want to know what our divination is?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So our tea divination is for today states that personal growth lies within the unknown. Courage permits you to explore this space. Ooh. So my co-host Guru has got some explaining to do on this.
Well, I don't know about explaining. It's that word again, courage. Gosh, isn't it crazy? In order to do things that take you out of your normal, do things that transform you, you gotta get over yourself. you gotta have some boldness there. And that's not easy to do necessarily. That can be a scary thing to do, and yet there is no other way. We have to be able to do something differently, to see ourselves something differently. Not necessarily all the way, but we got to be able to take those first few steps, those first what if steps. And that's hard to do. It is hard to do. I think even experienced practitioners like you and me hit that boundary where we have to do more. We have to be extra. And man, it's hard. At least it's hard for me. You may not experience that.
Oh, please, Saul, I swear.
You may have it all down by now.
You know, the thing about the unknown is that the unknown is something that many people are afraid of because it is the unknown. And that's where you are battling with the conditioned self. Because the conditioned self does not want you to change. It wants you to stay safe. It wants you to stay within your bounds. It doesn't want you to go beyond that, because when you go into the unknown, you start using your authentic self. That's where you become aligned with spirit. That's where you start to learn different things. You start to be able to grow, and you start to change. And when you start to grow and change, a lot of people are not going to like you anymore. Friends you thought you had are going to try to put you down. They're going to try to keep you where you were at. And sorry, you're going to end up having to shed those friends a lot of times because they were not really your friends. And people are meant to come in and out of your life. And that's just the absolute truth. Nobody was meant to stay in your life forever. It's just like our parents, they're meant to come in and they're meant to come out of our life. That's just the way things are. That's the reason why we don't live forever. You know?
Fair enough.
Right? If we were born to live forever, that would be sad. Because that would mean that we would never truly appreciate anything.
Well, and I think it ties back into exactly what we were talking about. That when we pass out of this world, we move on in some mysterious way, and the limitation of only being able to experience life right here, right now, just like this, and not being able to let go of this physicality. It's exactly the same thing. You're pushing up against the unknown, and if we are going to be fully the beings that we are, we must experience this physical life as fully as we can, and then we must be willing to go through that mysterious boundary of death to whatever is on the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And as spiritual beings and practitioners, we know there's something on the other side of it. And we can't fear it. We have to be able to embrace it, just like each stage of our life before it. This is the next stage. And we have to have courage when it's time to face that doorway. And the psychopomp appears.
And they grab you with that hook and they go.
That's right. You're done. Well, at least they don't stick a fork in you, right?
Exit stage right.
You betcha.
All right. And with that, we're going to hear some wonderful messages from our amazing sponsors, and we will be right back with Witch Hat Chats. Have you wondered what spirituality is? Spirituality is limitless, as it does not contain any boundaries on beliefs or practices. Spirituality's most important component is personal experience and allows one to explore it freely. Evermoving We Rise is a spiritual moving tradition, as our name is our lifestyle, because we are persistently rising and moving forward. We realize that everyone's spiritual journey is extremely personal, but more easily traveled with reinforcement. We'll teach you to become friends with your shadow, emerge your authentic self, and give you time and space to develop your own spirituality. And when situations bump back, you'll have the entire community behind you, as we are a magical family who work to sustain each other. Discover the benefits of working within a society dedicated to helping you grow on your personal path. Visit us on our website, Linktree, or Facebook page and discover why we don't fit in the box. Behind the door, you should find the return of the Barebone Trio. See no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. Skeletons. This bare-bone trio reminds us not to take life too seriously and shows us the sense of humor we all have. Each one crafted with specific detail and are great for the Day of the Dead, your ancestor altar, Halloween, Samhain, Hecate, and the possibilities are limitless. And there is so much more in our wicked store to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you.
Kitchen Witch Gourmet is a wonderful way to bring the magic of tea into your world. Kitchen Witch Gourmet is your resource for high-quality loose teas, herbal teas, black teas, green teas, and special blends. Need the perfect pot to brew your tea? Kitchen Witch Gourmet has teapots, infusers, and more accessories to make every brew a pleasure. Check out the broom closet for magical tools and custom art for your divine pleasure. Explore the Bath & Body collection for luxurious herbal baths and personal items that will cleanse and clear you head to toe. Join the Tea of the Month Club for a guided monthly tea experience delivered direct to your home or office. Kitchen Witch Gourmet has all you need to perfectly start your day, end your day, and enhance all the moments in between. Behold all the wonders at kitchenwitchgourmet.com. Welcome back to Witch Hat Chats. I am Saul Ravencraft. I am here with Miss Nikki Kirby, and it's the most wonderful time of the show.
Of course it is. You get to see me.
Well, I saw you in the last segment, but we get to introduce our guest, and that is always it's my favorite part, when we bring in another voice, other ideas, and we see what we're going to see.
From Greenville, North Carolina, this guest host is the priestess of the Sojo Circle, a coven of modern, independent witches. She is a mom who makes the time to write on her blog, Witch on Fire, and is an author for Llewellyn with her book, Elemental Witchcraft, a guide to living a modern life through the elements, which is the first in the Pentacle Path series. She's also the owner of the Sojourn Whole Earth Provisions and a Star Trek fan. We are proud to present Heron Michelle. How you doing, Heron?
I'm well, Nikki. Nice to see you. Thank you for having me on here.
A Star Trek fan? Well, forget all this witch talk.
That's right. Let's talk about Trek. I can talk about Trek all day.
Well, they are related because they're both about imagining something better.
Indeed, they are.
And looking to bring it about.
I think it's a brilliant, forward-looking vision, a dream of, where the great work of magic could take us, to a cooperative culture where, humanity really is improving itself and being better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's where we get our magic, is from our imagination. It has to start somewhere, right?
You've got to start with visualizing the better thing. You have to think of the solution and then work towards it. That's right. And I love how they show a vision of what humanity could become if we work together and set our egos aside a little bit and help each other. I'm all about creating what I call a cooperator culture as opposed to the dominator culture we're in right now. My book is about that a lot. And I think that's a vision of what it could be. We work together and help each other out, explore the cosmos.
Oh, yeah. So tell us a little bit.
Well, like most people did back in the 90s, you stumble across it, to realize the same. Saul and I were just talking about this, the age-old story of you're in something else, but it doesn't feel right. And then one day you find out that there's actually paganism or there's actually witchcraft. And suddenly you're like, oh, well, now that's the thing that feels right. And then there you are. And I've been pursuing it since I was 18. It took about 10 years to get to where I was actively, outwardly seeking it out. But I considered myself a little closeted, secretive witch for 10 years. And then at about 28, I finally started seeking it out with covens.
Right. Now, you told me that you came from a evangelical background, and that there were some real obstacles to overcome on your journey. And we won't necessarily get into all that because I think everybody's got some version of that. But having been someone who has crossed such a great divide in your spirituality, if there was someone listening to this who was struggling with that transformation themselves, who felt this pull but knew they were going to be damned for it, and didn't dare, for all of the hurt it would cause them, for all the hurt it would cause their family, for all the fears that they have, is there anything that you might share about your own journey there that person can keep in mind to help them move forward?
I think my advice would be, and this is what helped me, is because it is hard to break with your family. When you've got in my case, I have, a sweet grandma who's a Lutheran, and last thing I'd ever want to do in the world is hurt or disappoint or even concern her, And so, it is hard, but I ask myself, well, my people haven't always been Christians, clearly. I mean, I've come from a European background. What were my people before they were forcibly Christianized, way back when, go way back. And that's what really got me into finding that there was the religion of pre-Christian worlds were still being practiced, or they were being excavated and practiced. And I was like, all right, well, if that's the case, what were my people before Christianity? And it took me, I've got some Gaelic ancestors, I've got French and German ancestors, I've got British ancestors. And so I started looking at what were those religions. And I was coming at it from more of an anthropological approach or an archaeological approach at first, but I really enjoy studying religion. I changed majors several times in college, but my first one was anthropology and comparative religion. So I'm studying all of that stuff. I'm like, oh, this is just wonderful. And then, eventually you figure out that people are still doing that and reconstructing it, or, going back to that. And so the way I overcame that is that I am reclaiming what was taken from my earlier ancestors and restoring that a bit. And that I don't have to be in conflict with my Christian family members at all, because these things can coexist. See, I'm a panentheist, which is to say that I believe that everything is divine, and every expression in the middle world is an expression of the divine as it is working itself out. And so to me, it doesn't have to be a conflict. I could leave their old battlefield of good versus evil. I could just choose to lay down the weapons of the dominator paradigm that they're all part of, and just leave the battlefield in peace. Like, okay, you do you, I'm going to go over here and do my thing. Because, if I want that freedom of religion for myself, I have to offer that to them as well. And that's how I got over it. And plus, I do think that you have to, at some point, and I'm going to use the old phrase from church, you have to get right with Jesus. You have to come to terms with what that character means, what that character represents. And if you're still in a resentment phase or in a, oh, I'm just going to deny the existence of this thing at all, that doesn't really help you out. I think you do have to come to terms and a peace, you just peace with the whole Jesus mythology. And when I see that, when I studied it very intensely as a means of disproving it, I think we mentioned that a little bit earlier.
Sure.
And when I was in college, and then just personally, I found a character, if you were to just go by the stories as a mythology, the same as you would study any other god or goddess in their mythology. I saw someone who had similar ideals as me, you know, heal the sick, accept all people, don't ostracize someone, especially, you know, women, and question the status quo. Go into the wilderness for 40 days and listen to the spirit of nature and figure things out. I mean, I found someone who is a healer, a diviner, someone who is in regular conversation with the divine, and that's me. That's me too. So I'm not in conflict with that anymore, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And so, yeah, it took me about 10 years to get right with Jesus and stop being and be able to move forward in a way where I can define who I am as opposed to who I am not. You know, because you really have to work that out. Who am I not? And then who am I? And so, you know, everybody comes to it their own way, but I try not to dwell too much on resentment.
Yeah. One of the things I always recommend to people who are exploring that road is the Jefferson Bible. It was a thought experiment that Thomas Jefferson did where he took various versions of the Bible, everything from the Latin Vulgate to a French edition, and he literally cut and pasted this thing together with scissors and paste to create a version of a gospel that looked at Jesus as a philosopher, looked at Jesus as a teacher, removed a lot of the trappings that make him someone that you're not supposed to think about, but just worship, and just lays it all out. And my goodness, what a difference it makes to have a concise, straightforward demonstration of who he was, what he did, and you know, talk about a lot of the who he wasn't. You know, all that interpretation gets removed, and you find exactly what you say. Someone that was into people living their best life, and not being distracted by other people's explanation of you know, what you were supposed to be.
Right. He was revolutionary, and I love that.
Yeah. Well, what a great thing for you to get through. And I like the fact that you have done so without having to discard all of that. You still connect with it, because that's very much what my journey was like. I don't hate Christians. I still got the sweet people in my life. I don't mind going and being with that, but I see it differently than they do. I know stuff going on there that they don't know.
Yep.
Because they don't know their church is built like a magic circle.
Right. I really enjoyed the work of Elaine Pagels. She's a Jewish scholar who wrote on the Nag Hammadi texts that were found, and you know, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, etc. The new Coptic Gnostic Gospels that were found in Egypt in 1945 in the Nag Hammadi texts. she does a really great analysis, and it really helped me to come to terms with what was really going on, politically, how it was politicized, what they really know happened, things he is said to have said that are very, I would call it even animistic, shamanic, kind of.
Right.
And there's plenty to connect with there. I think he was wise. I mean, same thing, if someone tells me a story of some wise thing that the Buddha said or Confucius said, or even Muhammad or what, and I find beauty and wisdom in that. I mean, I love like the Sufi poets, etc. There's some beautiful things there. I feel no reason to exclude that. If it's wise, if it's consistent with my belief system, if it inspires me to be better and more loving and more compassionate and more cooperative, I don't see why I should just excise that from my life. And the Christian church tries to make everything black and white. It's with us or against us, yes or no. And I don't see the world that way. It's a spectrum of possibility. And so I try not to throw the whole thing out, the whole baby with the whole bathwater. I try not to do that. It's just necessary. It's just not necessary.
What I find that anyone that digs more deeply into spirituality and customs and mythologies and that kind of thing comes away wiser about all of that and more compassionate about people practicing in parallel paths. And I've come across Christians that are knowledgeable, and they're not nervous about any of this. They get it. I come across pagans that are not knowledgeable about their own histories and their own pasts and what they practice, and they can be a little ignorant too.
I worry about what I have noticed, especially in what I would call like the broader pagan occult community, there is a trend towards fundamentalism. And because I was raised in a fundamentalist, and I'll just define what I mean by that, is that there is one right way. This is the doctrine, and you should never deviate from such, and anyone who does is wrong. And so by that definition, I have run across many fundamentalists, Wiccans, pagans, heathens, it does, and every time I run into that wall where I'm feeling like what they're presenting to me is this is the only one right way, you are wrong. It's all or nothing. I get really nervous. My red flags start flying off, and I back away from that as hard as I can go, because I've been in that church and I never want to return to that cult-like thinking. That's cult-like thinking. And I never want to go back to that again. So, and I know there's too much of that in the whole world.
Need to always keep the O in a cult.
It really is. And it's really shameful too. It's like a lot of us, we come from that, and just to go back into it, it's because we're taught like that to be in society. Schools teach us like that. They don't teach us how to think outside the box. They teach us to be followers, is what they do.
Line workers. We're supposed to be quiet little line workers. Yep. Do the factory thing. Don't ask questions. Yep. And I think witchcraft is the antidote to that.
Right. Or any other type of magical working is the antidote to that, whether it's witchcraft, it's voodoo, it's hoodoo, whatever it is, because it makes you think outside the box to be able to do that. And when we do that, it's something that really upsets people, because we're not following the recipe. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to ask, when can we go to the bathroom? When can we get off? When can we do this? Oh, we're supposed to do it for this certain amount of dollar. We're not supposed to ask for a raise. Oh, no. You're not supposed to do that. It's one of those things, and I get kind of sick and tired when people turn around and tell me, well, no, I have to have the perfect altar. It has to be this way. Honey, when you're beginning and you want it to be like this, it's okay, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. Your deities, whoever or whomever they are, doesn't expect you to have the perfect chalice or the perfect, knife or whatever it is. They don't expect that. Or even if you don't have one, if you got a candle, damn, light the damn candle for them. You don't have to have oil for it. You don't have to have any of that stuff for it. They don't expect that. They don't expect a candle to just sit there in the middle of the floor and talk to them. Shit. I mean, hell, if you want to sit in the shower and talk to them in the shower. It doesn't matter.
It's funny, when I was first training with a Wiccan circle in kind of an outer court way, we were going to do this thing, and I was told I had to memorize my gate call, and I was calling the West in water, and I have invoked the powers of water to my shower head more times than I can count because I'm practicing in there, and I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of thing can happen anywhere. Easier to do even in the shower if you're calling West in water, but. Yeah, I've had a varied experience. I've trained with a lot of different people. I think that is a benefit of a more eclectic approach. And I had to go that way simply because I couldn't find the more traditional routes. They weren't available to me. And so I did the best I could with what I had. But the varied paths does tell you that there are many ways to do things. And they can be beautiful and effective in their own way. And it doesn't have to be one thing or the other. So I think what I've been doing mostly in my path is, more the eclectic thing, but I would call it syncretizing it. I syncretize the good parts, the effective parts, things that create an internal consistency to a practice that also makes sense for a modern life. That's what I've been trying to do. So that's how I define modern witchcraft. Saul had asked me, well, what if this is modern, what was the other thing? From what,
We're going to pause here for just a moment. It's time for us to get a word from our sponsors. When we come back, we are going to talk to Heron about modern witchcraft, what came before it, and how do we put it into practice. We'll be right back after these important messages. I'm Saul Ravencraft, co-host of Witch Hat Chats. I understand just how confusing and chaotic it can be to open to a path of magic and manifestation. Everything seems to turn on its head. I want to be an ally as you find the way upon your path. My studio setup will let us do readings, coaching, and exploration virtually, just as though you were sitting across the table from me. One size does not fit all, and we will work together to craft the right approaches to build your practice, your confidence, and your power using the tools of divination, magical works, and spirit connections. It's never too late to embrace a new path and emerge empowered. Go to TexasMojoMan.com and select Contact to begin. There's a message now. Let's get started working on your very good fortune.
Are you drawn to the shadowy path of the paranormal? Is spending the night in a haunted house your idea of fun? Then you will love Victoria Monday's Paranormal Activities. Paranormal explorer Victoria Monday has created 6 volumes of fun for those who are truly spooky at heart. Each book is filled with pages and pages of creepy coloring sheets, preternatural puzzles, weird word searches, and more surprises to keep little hands and heads busy. Older kids at heart enjoy them too. Collect the whole set and experience hours of frightening fun. Victoria Monday's Paranormal Activities are available through Amazon. Order now.
And welcome back to Witch Chat Chats. And Saul and I are chatting with Miss Heron. And we are going to be discussing what was before modern witchcraft.
So what was it? What was before?
Good question. Don't we like to debate that? Well, when I talk about modern witchcraft, I am, I guess, just trying to say that it's something that is forward-looking and is trying to craft something for the future. And I'm not necessarily concerned about recreating a past craft practice based on any particular elder or any particular tradition. I'm not trying to recreate some Renaissance era, a radio or something. I'm not interested in trying to create a practice that suited ancient people. However, I do think ancient people had some very valid, valuable things to contribute that are still potent and still important for today. And so I do excavate those things, but I am trying to syncretize something for the future. So I'm just as likely to look to quantum mechanics or modern psychology or modern sociology to or cultural, all the cultural anthropology of what's happening right now. I'm just as likely to integrate those things and syncretize those things to create what I think would be a magical spiritual practice that's helpful for the modern person. And who can we become? I'm more interested in the future, I guess is what I'm trying to say, than the past. And I didn't want to inadvertently use language that would confuse someone if what they were looking for was something very traditional. And I do not claim to be a Wiccan, though I am accused, rightfully so, of my practice looking very Wiccan. And I'm not embarrassed of that. That I think Wicca is beautiful, but I did not come to that closed practice the way that it was intended. And so rather than say, oh, well, I'm just one of these new Wiccans in America that learned from Scott Cunningham or whatever, I'm just going to call it modern witchcraft so as not to confuse the situation.
Right, because Wicca and witchcraft are not the same thing.
Right. They are interchangeable terms sometimes, but not all the time. There's a Venn diagram in there sometimes where things cross. Also, there's the traditional folk witchcraft practices that are certainly important and emerging. And I pull things from that also that I find beautiful and useful and consistent. But, I'm creating something new. And I'm not shy about that. I'll be like, this is something I created. Y'all try it. See how you think. What you think about it. And if it were, and I'll say, well, I was inspired by this for some old writing or some traditional thing, but I've adapted it. And I'm not trying to lie about that, which makes me different than the founders because they often weren't very honest about where they came up with these things.
Right. So tell us about the Pentacle Path.
So that's what I call this approach, because it's based in balance. And taking the inspiration from the Pinnacle, the 5 points of the Pinnacle, and the 5 aspects, approaching the world in a holistic way based on these 5 aspects, which I think we are also fivefold, minimum fivefold in our nature, with the mental aspects of ourselves, our mental bodies, our emotional bodies, our spiritual bodies, our physical bodies, and then the body of our will, or our fires. And so I'm always approaching things in a balance of those aspects of ourselves. And it's a holistic approach to life, but I think it's based in wellness and happiness. I think we're supposed to be enjoying our lives. I think that's the point. We're supposed to be here to learn and have a good time and enjoy ourselves and explore relationship and explore all the possibilities and really live. That's what I think the point is. But in order to be happy and effective, we have to be balanced. And so I'm constantly working on that. And that's the Pinnacle approach, or the Pentacle Path style. Each of those lines. So then the Elemental Witchcraft book that, is out already, this basically delineates a practice that goes year round, where you're constantly checking in with these various aspects of yourself. And right now we're in the Earth Path, which would go from Samhain until Imbolc, and where we address issues of sovereignty, personal sovereignty, and the paradoxes that are presented by us being part of the great spirit. That's the panentheist way. Spirit is everything, divinity is everything, and then in the cosmos, and then becomes us. And there's this illusion of separateness. And we're here to learn from that illusion. But there's the paradox. Are we one, or are we individual? And so I tried to, at this time, really think about the paradox between our independence and our interdependence, for example. That would be part of the Path of Earth. And then you get to air, and that's the mental body. And there's the, aspects, there's paradoxes to be reconciled at each of these stages. But there's also inner and outer mysteries of each of the elements. The outer ones are what we are regularly taught in all these various ways in witchcraft. It's called the Witch's Pyramid. Eliphas Levi first introduced it as the Sphinx, but it, to know, to will, to dare, to keep silent, that would be the outer mysteries. There are inner mysteries also that are not as well known and have been introduced in a more recently in the 90s by an author named Timothy Roderick. He's a Wiccan priest, but also a clinical psychologist. And he suggested that there were these other signs of these mysteries that were more receptive. That was very inspiring to me. And I've built an entire practice, a whole curriculum. Our coven is built on this, that there's an inner and an outer mystery of both. And you're constantly ebbing and flowing between the projective aspects of each of these parts of you and the receptive aspects. The receptive being the more goddess side of things, the more cooperative side of things. And so restoring the balance between God and goddess from the old battlefield of God, patriarchal, to the more cooperative side of equality. So on the opposite side of, for Earth, from the opposite side, to be silent is to resonate or to make some noise, to set the tone for what you want to bring into the world. So we call that resonate. The opposite side of to know is to wonder. And that's the cure, the antidote to fundamentalism. You think you know something. Oh, but here, let's ask a new question. Oh, there's some new data. Maybe we need to reconsider. That sense of wonderment that comes from releasing what you think you know to ask new questions. The opposite side of to will, or to apply your will to the world, apply your fire to the world, is to surrender to the fire and allow yourself to be changed, to be transformed, to surrender what no longer serves, or let the gross, the base matter of oneself be transmuted into something light and power and energy. Sometimes you have to give yourself to the fire. The opposite side of to dare emotionally is to accept a condition, to be like the water still in a bowl or in the chalice, and let the chalice mold you. And so these are the things that I'm constantly balancing on the Pentacle Path. so as to remain compassionate, remain cooperative, remain curious and open to new possibility, etc. So that's the Pentacle Path.
Nice.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm working on the lunar book, you know, each of the moons is a relationship between where the sun is and where the moon is. And it is the receiver and the transmitter of that zodiac energy that from where each of these things are. And so in the lunar book, I'm really focusing heavily on the receptive side of things and balancing one's inner goddess, I would say, or inner receiver. And, you know, when the moon is full on one side of the zodiac, the sun's on the opposite side, right? And so there's always a balancing between earth and water. And then the next month, there'll be a balancing between air and fire, etc. And so it's another way on another level of balancing one's inner self, the conscious mind with the subconscious, by using those elemental energies again at another octave, at a different octave, and also exploring the underworld, you know, the goddesses, the astral realm, psychism, that kind of thing. So that's what I'm working on now in Lunar Witchcraft, is a further refinement of those ideas, but using the path of the moon. It's been fun. A lot of research. Been doing a lot of research. Learning a lot, actually. It's funny, you think you know a subject, and I have been practicing for 30 years. You know, you think you know something, and then you start researching for a book, and you're like, oh, look at all the things I never knew before.
Well, the one thing about it is that you never say you know everything, because you never know everything.
Nope. In fact, the more I know I don't know. It's like an inverse effect, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know somebody's a rank newbie. It's like walking around talking about how they're an expert on everything.
Right.
Just like screaming to the world, I'm just beginning, I'm a novice. The ones who are like, I don't know anything. Those are the masters. You need to go sit at their knee and talk to them.
Well, from what I understand, you only need 3 years in any subject to be a world's expert. A super professional. Only takes 3 years. I just seen that pattern over and over and over again. Someone's been involved with something for 3 years, and now they're coaching, teaching, selling their package.
You might only need to open a TikTok account. You might need 30 seconds worth of experience in order to, you know, be a TikTok expert these days.
Yeah, just the special shortcut.
It's scary. I'm so glad that there weren't social media outlets like that when I was beginning.
Me too.
More.
Well, you know, the thing about it is, when we were beginning, it was already hard enough to find somebody who was reliable, as far as I was concerned. It's just, most of the time, it was always somebody who was male, and they always wanted to get in your pants most of the time.
Don't I know? Yeah, it's hard. It was hard to find your way in to anything reasonable back in the day, or even to locate them at all, you know,
Right.
or otherwise. That was tough. It wasn't until witchbox.com, you know, Witchbox started
Yeah, I remember
that you could list your coven or your group or your grove, and or you could list your, you know, like a personal profile, find each other. That's how I first found the first coven I found in person, and that was in 2002. But it took months for that to be easy for me.
Oh yeah.
I was sad when we shut down the website, but I'm sure we've got other ways now of doing things.
Oh, honey, I'm still in a county in which the only spiritual book, or witchcraft book, is that astrology birthday book, and it's still behind the librarian's counter, and it's still marked reference.
Is that because witchcraft books are the #1 thing stolen from libraries?
No, you have to ask for them, and they don't do that. If you want a witchcraft book, you have to actually have them to order it from another library.
Sounds like someone needs to donate some books to your local library.
Yeah. I have a pretty good library here. I think a lot of people local here will donate things to our library. So I have a hard time giving up books. I don't ever donate anything. I hold on to them. But I really just need to drop off a bunch of things from my bookstore to the library so that they're there.
Yeah. And so you also have a store?
Yes. I have a metaphysical bookstore. And, well, you know, gifts, magic stuff, herbs. We have a whole apothecary. We also have a website online. People can order and we'll ship in the US. It's thesojo.com. And, you know, all the things you need for a magical practice. Of course, you know, the primary one in our area is Hoodoo. And so we carry a lot of materials for Hoodoo, Wicca, divination, witchcraft. We have a huge crystal selection, but mostly, you know, books and that kind of thing. I'm trying to make sure that people are educated on this stuff, have the good information so that they know how to use all that stuff. You know, it's been very trending, as you know, in the world. Witchcraft is trending, magic is trending, spiritual topics, yoga, you know, all of that kind of thing. We're not just witchcraft. We try to be a spiritual general store for all the paths less traveled. That's, you know, I took some inspiration from the old Robert Frost poem, and our byline is equipping the path less traveled, because that's relative term. But if there was no one supplying the interest group in our town, I just tried to supply it. So progressive ideals, the fantasy, fan fiction, sci-fi groups, the gaming, tabletop gaming, that kind of, you know, like if you had some interest that wasn't being supplied elsewhere, we tried to supply that. And it slowly but surely whittled down to what, you know, is being demanded of us here. But primarily there was no really good place to get the books or the materials. So we do now have that. And we've been open since 2009. We've been doing this a while. So we've grown quite a bit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of my customers come from your side of the border.
Yeah. Yeah, we there's a lot of good bookstores, metaphysical stores in Eastern North Carolina, but you probably have to drive if you're not in Jacksonville or Wilson or Greenville or Raleigh. But we do have a fair few.
Oh, yeah. All right. And so with that, we are going to take a break and listen to our wonderful sponsors. And we'll be right back with the Witch's Cabinet. The Witching Hour is here, and new magical products arrive at Moonlight Potions and Charms. And what appears during the magical hour? Our mysterious triple goddess Hecate key necklace comes in 2 sizes, perfectly aligned with her wheel, so her devotees can find their way through the darkness. The handsome hand of God statues, believed to be protective talismans of luck, fertility, abundance, and good health, come in black or white. One of the best ways to bring your ancestors with you no matter where you go is our traveling ancestor altar on the go. They come in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large, perfect for all of your needs. They include candles, an oil, a toy for the little ones who passed on, and so much more to honor their beloved dead. And our Papa Legba key necklace are perfect for the devotees of the King of the Crossroads. Comes in 2 sizes, each one specifically prayed over and dedicated to Papa Legba himself. And appearing for the first time, Baron Sam D and Mama Gray J, Altar on the Go limited edition. Yes, you can take your altar to the cemetery with you. How cool is that? The traveling altar is complete with top hats, coffin nails, a cross from Mama Bridget, and so much more with room for you to add your own items. So show Baron MD and Mama Bridget the altar perfect for them. And don't forget, our barebone trio, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, Speak No Evil, Skeletons, have returned. There is so much more in our wicked store to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you. Anybody can tell you what is on a tarot or oracle card. What matters is seeing beyond what others may not be able to see and help the client to uncover what lies in the mist. What do readings from Moonlight Potions and Charms do? Wednesday I did this ancestor reading, and it was an amazing reading, and it was a detailed reading. And I remember talking to this customer's ancestors, and it was so delightful, and he wanted some questions to be answered about the magic in his family because he didn't know. And his family was mostly like most of our families are. You know how everything is like hush hush when it comes to the magic in his family. And he wanted to know who can he actually talk to about the history of the magic in his family. And I was able to give him specifically who he can go to talk to about that. What particular deity he can actually go to be able to help him with this. And it was just an amazing reading, and talking to his ancestors. They were such a delight, and they told me so much about this customer. It was just an absolutely wonderful, wonderful reading for him. And I was just so happy to be able to give him this wonderful reading. It's really amazing to be able to give people these readings, these products that's really going to help them, and be able to give back to the community, because this is what Moonlight Potions and Charms is about. We want to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. That is what we are all about, is to help you to do that. Book now and allow our wonderful staff to take care of your spiritual reading needs. And there is so much more in our wicked store to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you.
Welcome back to Witch Hat Chat. Saul Ravencraft here with Miss Nikki Kirby, and of course Heron Michelle. It's time for the witches cabinet. Your homework for the day.
So I was going to share my Yule log and some of the ways in which I've personalized that just out of my yard. I recently went out in the back, and I keep my Yule tree from year to year, and I let it dry throughout the year, and then I'll cut off the bottom of it. And so this was my old fir tree from last year. And then I use a really big drill bit, and I make holes for the candles in there. And I like to keep it on a tray. I just have this big sort of cheap, tray from back in Waitressing. And I'll just put it on there and add my candles. But this is what I brought from my yard. I just wanted to show this first. So the way that things that are important at the season when you're designing a Yule ritual can come from astrology, if that's how you base things. The sun is going to be coming up in Capricorn for the winter solstice. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So a lot of the things that we consider to be holiday, Yule-ish, Christmas things, they all come from Saturn associations. Of those, we have holly. I have a big old holly tree out back. And something I've just learned about holly, if you'll notice, these are smooth-edged leaves. They've got their little spiky bit on the end, but I always wondered why they didn't have the bat wing shape, because we were just talking about the old, if an old spell calls for wing of bat, what they're talking about is a holly leaf. And these do not have that little spiky holiday thing. And what I learned is that holly bushes, trees, they adapt. If there is a predator, if there is something consuming them, like deer are walking up eating the leaves or whatever, or bugs are getting them, they will adapt and start creating the spiky batwing shaped leaf with more jabby bits to keep from being eaten. But even at the top of the tree where they're not accessible, those will go back to being smooth. And my tree is so large and has been limbed up for so many years that there's nothing down low. And so I don't have any of the spiky leaves anymore, but this is still holly. Another one that's Saturn is ivy. I have English ivy all over my yard. That's another one. I also have fir. I just cut these off my new Yule tree, some little fir limbs. But this is one that is actually solar. So that's the other planet you can pull from. So, since we're celebrating the sun and new hope and the new sun coming into the year, as we also celebrate Capricorn, this is a juniper branch. And they just smell great. Juniper branches, juniper berries. So I've got some juniper cut from my yard. Also, I have a pine tree. Well, it's not really mine, it's my neighbor's, but he doesn't mind. I'll go pick up some pine cones. Pine is also associated with earth, which is from the north for me, and north being also winter solstice. So I pull from that, but it's also Saturn associated. So I have just a little tray of all of these things, and I place my Yule log on it. And so this is, sympathetic magic of Saturn and time and, all of those New Year things, plus the fir log from last year. And then I'll add the candles in. Where did I put my candles? Oh, there they are. I'll add my candles. And, that's another thing. What colors, whatever. And I think that's something you can adapt to your practice. I like to change it up. It could be silver gold. It could be, whatever. But I choose red for the returning sun and the fire energies there, and green for the earth mother giving birth to the new sun and earth, that time, and then white, the continuity of spirit. And then I sprinkle on there my Yule incense blend. And this is another way I personalize it. Everything in this jar is either Saturn or solar. So cinnamon, I like to pull things that, make me think of the holidays from food sources, sort of thing. So I've got cinnamon and clove and ginger powder. I've got frankincense because that's solar. I've got rosemary. I've got bay leaves, that's solar. And, those are really popular in Hoodoo work too, bringing money and wishes and that kind of thing and purifying. I've got some bay leaf. And I've got juniper berries in there, and it smells great. Allspice, basically pumpkin spice is solar. And so I sprinkle a little bit of that on the log and everything, and it just smells great. So that's how I do it. And it talk about a potpourri, but I just keep it out until the holiday, and then we light the candles and throw it on a solstice bonfire at the end of our ritual usually. So that's how we do our Yule log. I like to keep things from year to year. We then collect the ash, and then that blesses the earth at our high winter or Imbolc Sabbath next time around too. So anyway, I do a lot of substitution work based on the planets. And we were just talking about some research I was doing for my new book. I'm writing lunar witchcraft. And I do like to go back and comb through the old text to see what the old fellows were talking about, So I've got a big old tome of Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy. I was going through to see what he thought about the moon and things you could do with the moon, spells, etc. And he had listed a recipe in there for a fumigation of something to purify it and to bring the energies of each planet. And I don't know why he, instead of just calling it a fumigation, he calls it a subfumigation, but it's to fumigate from underneath. But anyway, also to draw in lunar power. And the recipe was for the dried head of frog, or frog. The eyes of a bull, dried and powdered, unless he happened to be talking about an actual plant. That part I haven't figured out yet. I think you meant the actual animal parts. And then he called for frankincense, but that's solar to me. It's solar in every source I've ever seen. So I would replace that with myrrh resin, because myrrh is very lunar. And then camphor, camphor essential oil, it burns white. That's why they liked it. It has a very astringent odor. It's like mothballs, basically. And it drives away insects. But the camphor is considered very lunar. If you can't get your hands on camphor, eucalyptus is another option for the same ways. And so I might substitute that. Another thing that he had in his recipe was the seeds of white poppy. White poppy seeds do not have the opium in them the way that black poppy seeds do, but the white color associated with the moon. But there are other white flowers. If you didn't have that available, I guess you could substitute for the black poppy seeds just to be a poppy, because that's what's in bagels and stuff like that. Those are pretty easy to find. But other white flowers that are lunar might be, say, gardenia. There's other lunar flowers. Jasmine, lily is another one. And, it may not smell the same. It certainly wouldn't smell the same, but it would still have those planetary energies. So when burned, it would still bring the power of that planet, regardless of its smell. So that's just ways in which I'll go back and look. Okay, well, what planet was this supposed to be for? Is there something that I have locally? Because I feel like the magic is in what's growing around you. What do you have relationships with in your region? And the thing that made it important in an old recipe wasn't necessarily that one thing. Like, I don't know what was growing in Agrippa's backyard, but it was likely things he could get his hands on locally. What's growing in my backyard? What can I get my hands on locally? It's not magic because it was in Agrippa's backyard. It's magic because of its associations to the greater powers, the deities that are associated with it, and the planets, etc. So that's how I make my substitutions. I just, I should mention also in Agrippa's recipe, he said the binder had to be menstrual blood or goose blood. Menstrual blood, if you're a woman, that's easy to come by. And all magic is better if it involves some sort of bodily fluid. But I did read that pomegranate juice is a substitute for blood in magic. And pomegranate is associated with the moon. So I thought, if you didn't have access to menstrual blood, pomegranate would bring that lunar power and could be a binder and would probably smell good to this sort of thing. So that's what I've been working on as well. How would I modernize an old Agrippa recipe to what I have locally?
Where is Agrippa getting his menstrual blood?
Good question. Don't know.
What an awkward request.
Especially back in the day.
Probably from his wife.
Yeah, he did have several wives. I was reading.
Oh, there you go.
Unfortunately, in those days, women died in childbirth all the time. He married several times, is what I'm saying, through the course of his life. Yeah.
I think I'll go for the pomegranate juice.
Yeah. I try not to kill things for my magic. It's just my preference. If I don't mind using animal parts, especially if they've already died for other reasons and you've collected them, or there's things that animals shed, like I'll use a cat whisker in a hot minute, for wayfinding and that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. And plus it was not specific what kind of frog. And I did look, and toads are lunar associated in many cultures. But it did, I don't know. It didn't say frog, and what kind, I don't know. And what's the purpose of that? I do know that what they were trying to do was bring animal, plant, and mineral together when they were making these blends too. And Agrippa did, he had the belief that divinity was and the seven celestial sphere governors of those classical planets were parsed out into all the things on Earth. And the more things you could bring together that were aligned with that sphere, the more powerful the magic. He was, not everybody at that, he had contemporaries like Paracelsus, for example, who was an alchemist. He had the totally opposite opinion. He didn't think you should bring all kinds of things together. He thought you should take one thing and then highly refine it and be very simple. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be one highly refined thing, and that can be very simple. Something that grows in the backyard like basil or rosemary or lemon balm, Melissa, that he would do a lot of highly refined of one ingredient, and then that's all he felt like you needed. But I like to bring something from plant, stone, and bone also. Those are the way I sort of parse out the physical material realms, something mineral, something animal. But I don't necessarily believe you have to have the physical component. You can just call on the spirit of that beast or plant to be present with you. Having a bit of the DNA acts like a key to unlock the consciousness of that realm or that species. And so it does make it easier. But if you've had relationship with that plant or that animal or that mineral before, you might not need it. So I don't know. It depends. I like to have the things. I have a Virgo moon and rising. I like to get my hands on things. So that's me.
All right. Thank you so much. So where can our people reach you?
Well, my website is thesojo.com, thesojo.com. That's for the shop, and I am teaching classes online, and we are openly registering people now for online classes. As a matter of fact, I'm running a special through the shop where we have an intro course, which was 7 lessons, and we have a dedicant course. I've combined the two together until February 3rd. At MLOC, I'm going to separate them out and have it be 2 different sections. But for now, it's sort of a 2-for-1 deal. But they are available online. The course is online, it's supplementary materials, etc. But I'm currently teaching in online and in person the Earth Path, because we're in the middle of that now. And we are doing retreats here in Eastern North Carolina in Tarboro. If you'd like to come in person, like 1 weekend in the midpoint of the 3-month course, we are getting together in person here and doing those things. But they're all available online too. It's called the Pentacle Path of Elemental. And so I'm signing up for that. And then as for me personally, my blog is on Patheos, the Pagan channel, but you can get to it at witchonfire.net. And my author website is heronmichelle.com. And I'm on all the social media platforms. If you just look up Heron Michelle, you'll find me.
Really do appreciate it.
It's been fun. Thank you.
Well, I guess that's all for our show today, yes?
Mm-hmm.
It went by so quickly. Next week, Nikki and I are going to chat with Daniela Semena, so be sure and join us.
So make sure you get your vaccinations, your boosters, and support each other, and keep your fuzzy babies, your family, your friends, and yourself safe. And have an absolute magical week.
I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday at 12 o'clock. And if you're hurting, they're willing to talk. Nikki, Kirby with that black stone. I agree, Evermoving We Rise. Laughing so will the beautiful mind. I give you blessings under moonlight. I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday at 12 o'clock. And if you're hurting, they're willing to talk.